Hine ma tovu manaim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manaim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, hine ma tov. Yalalai, yalalalalalalalai. Hine ma tov, hine ma tov. Yalalai, yalalalalalalalai. Hine ma tovu manaim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manaim, shevet achim gam yachad. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Congregation Ormi, especially if it's your first time here ever. We're just in a long while, so we're very glad you're here with us tonight to celebrate Shabbat. Welcome also to those who are joining from home through our live stream. We begin our service together on page 1 with what is Tikkun Olam, since it's a Tikkun Olam Shabbat-themed service, right? So Tikkun Olam is a Hebrew phrase that means repairing the world. This phrase does not appear in the Torah itself, but it does appear in the Mishnah, which is the foundational text of Rabbinic Judaism, which was completed approximately around the year 200. The Mishnah uses the phrase Tikkun Olam in reference to Jewish laws that provide extra protection to vulnerable people, such as slaves and divorcees. Over time, the term Tikkun Olam also took on a mystical meaning. A famous 16th century rabbi named Isaac Luria, or the Ari, emphasized the idea of tikkun, or rectification, in his new form of Kabbalah, or Jewish mysticism. Rabbi Luria essentially taught that divine sparks are trapped in the broken pieces of this world, and that doing mitzvot releases this divine energy, which results in tikkun olam, or a cosmic healing of the world. And due to the popularity of Lurianic Kabbalah, there's other types of Kabbalah out there, but his is like the best. This mystical meaning of Tikkun Olam became the dominant one for several centuries. However, in the 20th century, things changed again. The meaning of the term Tikkun Olam evolved once again. In the 1950s, this phrase, Tikkun Olam, began to refer more broadly to social action work. Today, Tikkun Olam includes everything from tzedakah, like charitable giving, and gimilut chasadim, acts of love and kindness, to progressive Jewish approaches to social issues. Overall, Tikkun Olam refers to our responsibility as Jews and as human beings to fix what is broken or wrong with the world. So let's read together, Pieces Coming Together. One part of Judaism is called Tikkun Olam. It says the world has been broken into pieces. All this chaos, all this discord. And our job, everyone's job, is to try to put the pieces back together to make things whole again. Maybe we're the pieces. Maybe what we're supposed to do is come together. That's how we end the brokenness. So I'd like to invite up two generations to come together, Cameron and Joanne, to help light our Shabbat candles on page 3.
Beneath a broken street lamp, a shard of glass and remnants of humanity linger on the sidewalk. A hungry child cries out for food. A widow walks with tears in her eyes, but in her heart there is still hope for peace. When will the fighting end? Her children ask wearily. When she answers patiently, when anger gives way to compassion, when hatred gives way to love, when darkness gives way to light. Promise me one thing, my children. Promise me that you will always act in ways that will fill the world with compassion, love, and light.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kichanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. So at this point in our service, we think of the week that has passed, and we hold on to all of the good things from this past week. So if you had an experience that inspired gratitude, if you have some good news to share, no matter how big or how small, I invite you to share that joy with the community now. Yeah.
Well, it's coming Sunday. Steve and I will be celebrating our 23rd wedding anniversary.
Awesome. Mazel tov. Very exciting. Yeah, Cameron? Awesome. Made it through 2 full weeks of middle school. That is not easy. Good job. Yeah. Yeah. Still standing. Cody? Oh. Mazel tov. Good. Mazel tov on the new job and happy birthday. Yeah.
I've been procrastinating rescheduling an appointment and to make it virtual so I'm hanging out with my friends on Monday, and they just called me and they're like, hey, we actually need to do virtual. So I never had to call them.
Ooh. That's really good to get out of a phone call. Yeah. Yeah, Nick?
I actually totally forgot that Labor Day was a thing, so 3-day weekend was a surprise to me.
Nice. It's like a bonus Shabbat, right? So we thank God for all these blessings, including the blessing of simply being alive for this moment in time, with the words of Shehechianu found at the bottom of page 4. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Amen. And we continue together on page 5, reading responsively, we cannot merely pray. We cannot merely pray to God that wars should be ended, for we know that the world is made in such a way that we must find the path to peace within ourselves and with our neighbors. We cannot merely pray to God to root out prejudice, for we have already been given the insight with which to see the good in all people, if we would only view them with understanding. We cannot merely pray to God to end disease, for we have already been given minds with which to search out cures and healings, if we would only use them constructively.
Therefore we pray instead for strength, determination, and willpower, to do instead of only pray, to become instead of merely to wish.
And we continue on page 8 with Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Penei Shabbat Nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad. Hishmi'anu el hamyuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad. L'shemo tiferet v'litila. Lecha dodi. Lecha dodi likrat kala. Penei Shabbat Nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala. Penei Shabbat Nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha. Ki mekor habracha. Merosh mikadem nesucha. Sof maaseh b'machshava tchila. Lecha dodi. Lecha dodi likrat kala. Penei Shabbat Nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala. Penei Shabbat Nekabela. Hitoreri, hitoreri, kiva orech kumi ori, uri, uri, shir daberi, kivod Adonai alaich nigla. Lecha dodi, lecha dodi likrat kala. Shabbat Nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala. Penei Shabbat Nekabela. And we rise together and face the entrance to symbolically welcome in the presence of Shabbat. Bo'wi v'shalom ateret bala. Gam b'simcha u'v'tzola. Toch emunei am segula, boi chala, lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat Nekabela, lecha dodi likrat kala. Penei Shabbat Nekabela. We continue on page 9, near the top with a regular basis. So, you want to improve the world? Then do it. To the next person who crosses your path, say something kind. Do something generous. Perform a simple act of service. By doing this on a regular basis, you will indeed improve the world. We remain standing for our official call to worship, the Baruch Hu, in the middle of page 9. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai. Hamevorach, hamevorach, leolam va'ed. Hamevorach, hamevorach, leolam va'ed. Please be seated. We continue with Roll Into Dark. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. We continue on page 10, near the middle. Reading responsively, we believe. We believe in tomorrow. We believe that poverty need not be permanent and that we need not learn war forever. We believe that there can yet be a time of peace, of justice, and of love for all who live on earth. Let people everywhere be sure that every deed counts, that every word has power. In spite of all its absurdities and frustrations and disappointments. And please rise for our most important prayer, the Shema, at the bottom of page 10. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Please be seated. Page 11. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha ubechol nafshecha ubechol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibartapam B'shivtecha b'veitecha, u'v'lechtecha v'derech, u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha, u'kshartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, u'chtavtam amzuzot beitecha, u'v'isharecha, leman tizkeru, Vasitem et kol mitzvotai, vitem kadoshim le'Elohechem, ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem le'Elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem. We continue on page 14. The mixed multitude. They weren't Israelites, our neighbors down the way, but they were slaves like us. I asked their son if he could keep a secret. He nodded, so I told him what my mother told me. We're leaving Egypt tomorrow, all of us. Pharaoh has abused us long enough, and we're not going to take it anymore. I've already packed my bag. There's actually nothing in it except a day's supply of matzah. We don't have time or money for anything more. Can I come too? Asked the neighbor boy. I'll ask my mom, I said. Instead of a simple yes or no, I got a whole lecture. But my mother is right. Your freedom is the same as my freedom. Yes, we are all in this together. We cannot walk to the promised land alone. Continue with Micha Mocha. Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 Micha mocha ba elim Adonai Micha mocha nedar bakodesh Nora tehilo tosefele Nora tehilo tosefele. And we continue on the top of page 15 with the power reading responsively. In each human hand and heart is the power to renew life.
To see dignity where there is brokenness and need, to know and cherish the image of God in every human face.
To open eyes that have closed in despair, to shelter the weak and shield the helpless.
To give strength to the weary, hope and comfort to those who feel pain.
To care for the earth like an old friend, to give its oceans, rivers, and forests our selfless love, to treat ponds and tide pools, the sky and the mountains as sacred living beings.
In each of us is the power to renew life.
We continue with Vishamru. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti leolam oti leolam Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim v'et ha'aretz Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam Uvayom hashvi Shabbat v'inafash Shabbat v'inafash Shabbat v'inafash Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Page 16. Pray as if everything depends on God, but act as if everything depends on you. Those who rise from prayer better persons, their prayers are answered. Please rise for our central prayer, the Amidah. Adonai sefatai tiftachu fi agite hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, v'Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, L'man Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol, Atah Rav le'Hoshia, Mechalkel Chaim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim. Somech noflim v'rofech olim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem, Unato, Lishenei afar, Micha mocha ba'al gevurot, Umidom elach, Melech memit umechaye, umatmiach Yeshua, Bene'eman atal achayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechaye hakol. Please be seated. We continue with the quiet moment for personal prayer or reflection. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'enecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. At this point in our service, we think of loved ones who are in need of healing. Tonight, we think especially of Alyssa Freeman, Ron Friedman, Jonathan Prupus-Kern, and Alex Simon. Are there other loved ones whose healing we wish to pray for tonight? With the power of community, we pray for their refuah shlema, their complete healing of body and or spirit, with the words of Mishaberach found at the bottom of page 20. Mishaberach avotenu mikor habracha May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu Mikor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. So we'll take just a minute to set up. We'll have a PowerPoint tonight. And if anyone wants to move so you can see better. Okay. Has anyone heard of this word before? Tzedakah. Yep, something we talk a lot about in the Jewish community. So the idea of tzedakah actually comes from this week's Torah portion, which is called re'eh, meaning look or see. It starts with this simple line: you shall tithe your corn or grain, wine, oil, and the firstborn of your cattle and sheep. So this is talking about a world where most people did not go to the grocery store or use DoorDash to get their food. They had their own farms, right? And they owned the land, and they put a lot of energy into producing their own food, and they didn't keep it all for themselves, even after all of that effort. The Torah talks about a tithe, which is giving 10% of that to the temple, which includes the Levites who owned no land. So most people own land, but the priests, the Kohanim, and the Levites did not own land, so they would starve if people who had land did not feed them. And also the stranger who's coming from another community did not have land, and the orphans and the widows in the community had fewer resources than everyone else. So this is kind of the cultural landscape that the Torah is working in, and reminds us to look out for those who are vulnerable and make sure that they have a place where they can come and eat and be satisfied like everyone else. And after that, after we contribute to that, God will bless you and all the work of your hands. So tzedakah used to be called a lot of different things. Tithing is one English word that referred to what the Torah is talking about in this portion. But we also have the word, several different words. So maser means tithe. So tithe, or kind of 10%. In Hebrew, you can see eser, the root of 10. There's also teruma. There's a Torah portion called teruma, which means like contribution. There's something called leket, which is kind of like leftovers. A fancier word is gleanings, but basically when you're harvesting, if you drop anything, you're like, oh, I dropped a grape. You can't pick that up. You leave it for those who don't have land to come and know that they'll find some food somewhere. There's also something called peah. If you've heard of payas, right, the little curls. So there's the corner of your heads where you get the payas but peah just means any corner, including the corner of your field. So you're supposed to leave that unharvested. So every person who has no land knows, oh, I'm so hungry, what should I do? You don't have to rob a bank, right? You just go to the corner field and you can get some food for yourself and your family. And there's also something called shichecha, which comes from the root lishkoach, to forget. So if you're like, oh, I was harvesting and I totally forgot aisle 7, right? You have to leave aisle 7 alone. So we have all these different words, but the idea of giving to those without enough food and resources is basically the same idea we have described with a different word, tzedakah, today. So about 2,000 years ago plus, people used to donate about 10% of their wealth to the temple, which included the Levites and the Kohanim. And then people donated additional amounts to the poor, right? The widows, the orphans, the strangers. So the Torah talks about those different things, right? The corners of the field, the things you leave behind. And that's not in this week's Torah portion. This is an ongoing theme in the Torah to look out for each other, make sure no one's starving. We see descriptions in Leviticus, the middle book of the Torah, about these practices. And if you want to do a fun version of this, I did invent a game. We're not going to play it tonight because I don't have any Skittles, but you use Skittles as your fruit, right? And this has a way to see. You have the 10% of the dark trees, the lighter trees for the corner fields, and then you harvest using the very sophisticated chopstick and possibly a spoon. And if you drop anything, that's left for the poor, so everyone can take turns playing different roles in the Israelite society, right? Are you a Levite who just waits for everyone to finish their harvest and bring stuff to the temple? Are you a poor person who gets to eat from the corners or whatever's dropped or forgotten? Are you a farmer who gets the chance to share all of your hard work with the community? So if anyone wants to play that later, let me know, but we're in the middle of a talk now. Okay, so it's not just the Torah that talks about this idea of giving, of tzedakah. Later on, we have other Jewish texts. So we have the Torah plus the rest of the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible. So the book of Psalms, where a lot of our prayers come from, has this line that says, pursue the cause of the poor, the rights of the needy. So that's moving from just feeding people to making sure that their rights and dignity are respected. And then we have in Isaiah, one of the most famous prophets, we read his work on Yom Kippur. It says, share your bread with the hungry and take the wretched poor into your home. When you see the naked, clothe them. So this moves from from food to clothing, right? So more things that provide dignity, comfort, meet people's basic needs in our community. So these are the biblical teachings. How do we get to tzedakah of today? So it's really the work of the rabbis from the Mishnah and the Talmud who started using the word tzedakah to talk about all of these different forms of giving and supporting each other. So tzedakah comes from the root of tzedek, right, which means to be right or to create justice. So we give because it's the right thing to do. We would want someone to support us in a time of need, so we support them in a time of need. And instead of just leaving it as a concept, we've turned it into something pretty concrete. Has anyone seen a tzedakah box before? Right? So you could just, put money in a dirty Ziploc bag and go here you go, right? But we put a lot of time and effort into making this a beautiful mitzvah. So you can create your own tzedakah box or buy one from a really talented artist, and they can have different themes. But it reminds us that giving is something beautiful, both for our hearts and for our eyes. And some of us may have grown up with another word. So tzedakah box, or the Yiddish word pushka, right, comes from the Polish word meaning tin can. So sometimes not everyone had a lot. You couldn't get a super fancy ceramic or whatever gold tzedakah box. You just have a tin can, and it did the job. You make it as nice as you can. So when we're talking about tzedakah, someone might wonder who's supposed to give it, right? Is it everybody? What about poor people, right? It's a lot of questions. So the Torah says every person should give according to their ability, right? So we've all been given different blessings. Some of us have a lot of time. Some of us have a lot of money. Some of us have less of one or the other. So we base our giving on what we have. And it says even a poor person who depends on charity themselves needs to give some charity. So you can't see yourself as just a taker everyone is a giver. So everyone has something to contribute. But you got to be sensible about it. So the Talmud says that you should not give more than a fifth of your income to tzedakah, because they assume no one has so much money that you wouldn't need 80% of it to survive, right? So that's kind of the landscape that this is operating in. So you got to think about being generous, but not so generous that you can't pay your rent next month, right? You got to find that balance. So how should we give tzedakah? So the rabbis are really specific on how the giving should take place. One of the most important things is upholding everyone's dignity. So you're not supposed to embarrass or humiliate or shame a poor person. And they knew that sometimes things change. There could be someone who had never needed help before, and maybe they lose their job or just things don't work out. And the way they would deal with this is they had a secret chamber in the ancient temple where people who wanted to help could leave donations, and those who were too embarrassed to, beg on the street could go in and get what they needed without any shame. So one aspect is dignity. The other aspect is kindness and inspiring hope. So there's a rabbi in the Talmud named Yitzchak or Isaac who says, whoever gives even a small coin to a poor person receives 6 blessings. So the coin is worth 6 blessings if we're counting mitzvah points, right? But whoever speaks reassuringly to him receives 11. So it's not just like, here's your money, right? It's, I know you're going through a rough time. Like, I care about what you're going through. Like, know that we're all rooting for you and things will turn around. Like, just show them that it's going to get better and that people care. So that increases the blessings for you and the recipient. So why should we give tzedakah? Well, the Torah says so, right? But if that's not a good enough reason, the book of Proverbs, also from the Tanakh, says that tzedakah tatzil mimavet, charity saves from death. So you could see this literally as if I give someone money to go to the hospital, right? That could save their life, that they can get the medical treatment they need. But sometimes this is interpreted the other way. Whose life is it saving, right? It could save not just the recipient's life, but the giver's life as well. So it could be, some people take it literally and they're like, oh, I'm sick, let me give some tzedakah, and maybe that'll help my situation a bit. But it can also save you more metaphorically from like a very meaningless life, right? To put your resources into helping others can save you from that meaninglessness and lack of connection with others. So in Reformed communities, we probably emphasize most of all reason number 3. So the reason we give tzedakah is we want to build a world where everyone takes care of one another. And we know that sometimes we might end up in a difficult situation and need the support of others. That's just kind of how life works. Sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down, but together we get through all of it. And this isn't just a modern idea that goes back to the Talmud. There's this other rabbi named Chia who talks to his wife, right? And he says, hey, when a poor person comes to the door asking for money, be quick to give him food so that the same would be done for your children. And she thinks that's a weird thing to say. Like, hi, honey, I'm home. Make sure to give people money, right? Quickly, and food. She says, you're kind of tempting fate here. Like, are you suggesting that our children are going to end up beggars like this guy? And he says there is like a revolving wheel in this world. Like, sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. You never know. And we want to model for our children that we support people when they're down, and that we are okay. It's okay for us to ask for help when we're down, right? It's a cycle. So what is the best form of tzedakah? You may have heard of this guy, Maimonides, from the 12th century, a very famous rabbi. And he said there's 8 different rungs. If you're trying to rank the different forms of tzedakah, the highest is when you help someone to help themselves. So that's usually seen as giving them like a job, so they have the dignity of earning their own money. Could be a business loan or something else, but the idea is maximum dignity, right? That's the best form of tzedakah. Then lower on the ladder, second best, is still a lot of dignity. The giver doesn't know who's getting the money, and the recipient doesn't know who gave it. So you don't have to walk around town, right, feeling like, oh, I know that guy gave me $100 when I, couldn't pay for my daycare or whatever it was. So Then you go further and further where there's more knowledge of who's giving and who's getting. It can feel a little awkward. Then there's giving directly to a person before you're even asked, right? Being aware of other people's needs and willing to step up, right? Before they have to go through the embarrassment of saying, like, I really need your help. Like, just recognize that and be like, hey, let me take you out to lunch, right? And the worst is like not giving enough and doing it like really with a mean look on your face, like, ugh, here, get away from me, right? So you're technically giving tzedakah, but you're not being nice about it. You're missing the mitzvah opportunity to really make this world better and have everyone know that someone cares. So what are some various ways we can give tzedakah? Well, we can give money, right? We saw sometimes tzedakah is money, sometimes it's corn, sometimes it's oil, sometimes it's sheep, right? Today, one of our most precious resources is our time, right? So we can donate our time, even if we don't have a lot of money to share. And the third thing, which can lead to the highest form of tzedakah, is teaching someone skills that will help them make their own money now or in the future. So those are all different ways. Anyone have other suggestions of forms of tzedakah? Yeah, Jenny?
Something I do at home is, have a nice decorative, just like a glass jar, and we just throw the change in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it gets full, I just take it to the coin machine at Kroger or whatever, but then buy food for the local food pantry.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's easy also just to, be able to go through your pantry and if things are not expired, you're not going to need it or whatever, to also donate to your local food pantry.
Yeah. So that kind of goes back to the original form of tzedakah. While you're creating your own food source, to think about, are other people able to eat? Let me use this change. Let me get rid of things that I know I'm not going to be able to eat before it expires. Someone else might enjoy. So those are great practices. Some people also have the custom to give tzedakah right before lighting the Shabbat candles. There's a couple different reasons. One, we like to just add up as many mitzvot as possible, but traditionally, you wouldn't be using money on Shabbat, right? It's a day without business deals, a day to relax and focus on the spiritual rather than the material as much. And you can't do it on Shabbat, so you could do it right before, right? You're like, last business transaction is a little bit of charity. And some families have a nice custom, like with their kids, it doesn't matter what age. You get together, you share your favorite memory from that week, you all donate a little tzedakah, light the candles, have a good dinner together. So there's lots of different ways to practice tzedakah here. With our religious school, kids will bring in, some of their allowance, right, as tzedakah each week, and at the end of the year, they get to choose where all of it goes. But you can see we start with this, little line or so from our Torah portion, and it was originally about farming, but it's grown into a much bigger concept that's become a very well-recognized, important, and inspirational aspect of Jewish life. So there we go, Shabbat Shalom. Jenny, would you like to share some announcements on behalf of the board?
Shabbat Shalom. Oops, yikes. Okay. So, I think that the religious school's first day is going to be, September 8th. And so right after that is going to be the Brisket for the Brisket and Kugel cook-off. And that, if anybody has been before, is a really one of our most fun events here. And there's going to be 6 brisket chefs and 4 kugel chefs, and lots of sides and macaroni and cheese and fruit and dessert. So this coming Wednesday is going to be the last day to get tickets in advance, which would be $15 per person or $40 per family. But you can get tickets at the door. They'll just be a little bit more, $20 a person or $50 a family. So make sure that you guys sign up for that. I unfortunately will miss it. I'm hoping somebody will stick some brisket in a freezer for me for later. But, and then, no. I know. Please. Okay, so then let's see here. We've got also the Oramy Book Club coming up Monday, September 9th, and that's The Year of Living Biblically by A.J. Jacobs. And on 9/11 is the next Culinary Adventures group outing, and that's going to be at the Balkan Restaurant. It's on Patterson Avenue. And in the weekly email, you can get more information of that, but you would email Leah over here if you would like to come, and you need to sign up for that by 9/6. And I think that's the main things to point out that are coming up. Anything else that you think I should mention?
I don't know if you saw, you can ask the Federation helped us put new ramps out.
Oh, okay, yeah. The Federation gave us a grant, and we were able to install ramps outside of the this exit door over here. So thank you for that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. As we continue our service together on page 22 with Aleinu, please rise for the Aleinu prayer. Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula leoter breshit, shelo asanu kegoye aratot, velo samanu kemishbechat adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, begor aleinu kechol amonam, va'anachnu gorim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, v'ne'emar, v'haya Adonai, lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yiyeh Adonai echad, u'shemo, u'shemo echad. At this point in our service, we think of loved ones who have passed away recently or at this time in years past. Tonight we remember with love the yahrzeits of David Berlinerman, father-in-law of Del Berlinerman, Marion Cole, father of Deanna Maneker, Molly Durowitz, aunt of Sheila Schnitt, Reuben Friedlander, uncle of Sylvia Fine, Marlene Kane, mother of David Kane, Robert Prupus, grandfather of Jonathan Prupus Kern, Elias Schmidt, father of Monica Markowitz, Jack Silver, father of Judy Katzen, Isidore Simonoff, father of Jerry Simonoff, and Victor Sporn, father of Amy Miller and Marcia Robbins. Are there other loved ones we wish to remember tonight? Zichronam Livracha, may their memories always be a blessing. We remain standing as a community of support for the Mourners Kaddish on page 24. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, B'alma divrach hirute v'yamlich malchute, B'chayechon uvyomechon, uvchaye decho Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala v'izman kari v'imru Amen. Yehe Shmei Rabbah Mivarach Le'olam Olamei Almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal Shmei Dekudesha B'richu, Le'ela Miko Birchata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechamata, Da'amiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehe Shlama Rabbah min Shemaya, V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort for all who are bereaved. And let us say, please be seated. We conclude our service tonight near the middle of page 25 with Od Yavo. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, 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 aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. So thank you to Patricia for playing piano tonight. If everyone could kindly return your services to the table near the entrance and join us in the back for Kiddush and Motzi, that would be great. Shabbat Shalom.